One of the big questions surrounding AI agents is how they will be able to pull the most up-to-date information from all around the internet. Parag Agrawal, the former CEO of Twitter, is tackling that exact question with a new company he founded 2 years ago called Parallel Web Systems. The company this week announced it raised $100 million at a $740 million valuation, and I want to bring on to Parag to talk all about it. Parag, welcome to TITV. It's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
This is going to be a fun discussion. I'm really excited about this. I want to start with what your company does. And where I actually want to start the discussion is when I go to the Parallel website, I see a little toggle at the bottom that says, are you human or are you a machine? And I was playing with that toggle this morning. And I want you to tell us a little bit about how that toggle relates to what you're building at Parallel.
Well, the web, as we all experience it, we use it. We do it in browsers, we do it in apps. It's been built for humans. When you think about publishing on the web, what do you think about? You think about, okay, how will people come to my website? How will people find it? How will people navigate through it? What actions will they take? Increasingly, it's actually going to be AIs that use the web. When we started the company, the motivation was that it was clear what the future would be. AIs would use the web a lot more than humans ever have. And so now the web has to evolve for its new customer, AIs. And our company's name is Parallel Web Systems. A parallel web built for AIs is how we view the world. We publish our website for humans and also for AIs. And it's a nod to what we see the future will be for all websites.
Right. So, okay, so you see that being the future of the internet. Now talk to me about what the actual products are that you're developing at Parallel.
At Parallel, the products we're building allow anyone building an AI agent to search and access the web. So if you think about any work that happens that you might do in your browser on the web. Now, let's say we build an AI agent to help you in whatever work you're doing. That agent must have a collection of tools to be able to do that work. Now, one approach is to give the agent the exact same tools that we humans have been using and let it go use them, and people do that too. We believe that the web is a interesting enough, hard enough, big enough problem that it's worth making a tool which is optimizing for AIs. And as much as all of us think that AIs are very similar to humans because they sound like us when we chat with them, they're not. They're limited by context windows. We need to put high signal, amazing information in front of them. So we're building tools optimizing for AI to be able to more effectively use the web.
And so in terms of your primary customer group, are you selling this tool to companies that are building AI agents to sort of help them access the web better? Or is this a tool that can actually be used by website publishers to help them optimize their own websites for the AI agents that will be crawling their websites?
Our primary products today are for people building AI agents so that they can access the web. In order to do so, we build, if you might, a search engine for AI agents, which allows them to search the web, or we allow them to pull content from the web. Our customers end up being all kinds of AI agents in all kinds of spaces. So if you think about the space that everyone talks about all the time, coding agents occasionally need to go look up documentation, or they need to search the web to figure out when they get stuck and how to go beyond that, or to pull data. You think about someone building a finance agent. You think about someone building an agent for insurance or risk. You think about someone building an agent for a consultant or for a lawyer. And you look through all of these disciplines, even people doing like scientific research agents. They all need the web because all of these jobs need the web. So these agents now use our tools and our technologies in order to do work.
To access the web better and more accurately.
Yes.
How do you deal with the issue of paywalls, for example? We are our website. We are known to have a paywall that it's pretty hard to get around. You have to subscribe. But how do you deal with all the information that sits behind paywalls? I'm thinking of news publishers, but there's also other websites that have this.
Yeah, we currently do not go behind paywalls. We only access the open web. So content that can be accessed without paying, content that can be accessed without logging in. And So your paywall, your content isn't available to AI agents. One of the reasons we started the company is to incentivize the web to remain open. The open
Hmm.
is a miracle. And I think it'll require some real business model innovation uh, to incentivize you all to publish content in a way that you want AI agents to access it. And it's possible because AI agents can generate a lot of value. If we figure out a way for them to share that value with people creating amazing content, because that content is really valuable to the AI agent's customer, then you will have incentives to allow AI agents through our system to
Hmm.
access all of your great content. Because ultimately, you are going to go through an AI agent to get to your customer.
Right. So that's the challenge at hand. What is the solution? How will you incentivize publishers to do that?
The solution will come soon. We don't have a solution to announce today, but let me tell you why
Working on it. You're working on it.
we are working on it. There are hints at a solution on our website. Whether you look at the human version or the machine version, there's an about page on there. But I'll give you the broad contours. The broad contours are our thesis is AI agents will add a lot of value. When you add a lot of value, we also believe data published on the web is really fundamental. And there's some really high quality data that is really important. Now, you combine intelligence with high quality data from multiple sources, and we believe the whole is much bigger than the sum of parts. Now, if you create a large amount of value through bringing things together, and then if you can figure out how to share this bigger pie you created, then you can create incentives for collaboration. Now, at parallel, what we're working on is figuring out what are scalable ways of creating these incentives for people to keep their information, to keep their data open, and welcome AI agents instead of block them.
Now, I do want to go back to the incentives thing because this is something we've talked about on this show is what is the right format for these incentives, for these deals that companies strike with publishers. We've seen a shift in a flat fee model towards more of a usage-based model, depending on how much you actually access the data. How are you thinking about is usage-based the direction that you are thinking of taking your own line of products? How do you think is the right way to structure these licensing deals?
Um, I think it's much more akin to how much value this data provides, which has to look into not just was it looked at, it is the unique value of some data. Is it a very unique data point versus one of 100 ways you could have accessed this information? And so a lot of factors have to go into understanding how a certain piece of information or data or a publisher or a website must be valued. And that's some of the research we've been doing, and it's looking very promising.
I want to ask you sort of about the AI agents landscape at large. There are so many agents. Every enterprise software company, the public, the private ones, everyone has their own agents. And we've talked on this show about how the agents are overlapping with each other, certainly with the public software companies too. I mean, we actually had a great table that we published in a story this week about it was a matrix between all the enterprise software companies and all the different types of agents that they could offer. And we colored in the boxes to show where each player is playing. And newsflash, everyone's playing everywhere. You know, there's a lot of overlap. How do you see this story playing out 3-4 years from now in a world where all these companies are offering products that very much step on each other's toes in a ways they haven't for the past 5 years?
Well, I think competition is a wonderful thing. Um, People building, it's very clear that there is a real opportunity here. There are a lot of problems to be solved, and we now have technology which can solve those problems. In our view, it will come down to AI agents delivering reliable, high quality work. The reason at Parallel we've focused so much in all of our technology, all of our products, we sell it on one thing and one thing alone, which is quality. If you get accurate answers and if you get work done at high quality and higher quality than anyone else, then you have the right to win.
Hmm.
And we believe that everyone is going to go try to keep improving their systems and improving their quality. And I think ultimately, when things settle down, the highest quality solutions will prevail.
So the highest quality solutions prevail. Do you see there being some kind of a shakeout 3-4 years from now? Do you see there being consolidation between some of these big enterprise software companies? We go from the Bessemer Cloud 100 to the Bessemer Cloud 30. How do you see this shaking out?
No, I think it actually goes in both directions. So there is going to be some amount of consolidation, but there's also going to be a large amount of new bespoke software created. Now, if you look at how easy it is to build personal applications or applications specific to a department within a company, that's also happening, right? The ability to customize software instead of all of us using exactly the same custom software is also increasing. So what we expect is actually much software that works for you. And now, at the top end, there is going to be some consolidation, but broadly, there are going to be more personal pieces of software that we will have access to. And we will not just choose from a desk, from a shelf. Instead, pick up ingredients and make our own. That's part of why our product is an API for people to be able to compose and build and fit into whatever their workflow is.
I want to ask you very quickly about the old world that you came from. You spent more than a decade at Twitter, and I read that you still call it Twitter. You don't call it X.
Go both ways.
Go both ways. Okay. What I want to ask you is you seem to be using the platform still a lot. I wonder how your experience at that company, you spent over a decade there, certainly, in the senior most position of that company. How did your experience at that company over the years inform the way that you're building Parallel?
I also spent my time as the most junior software engineer.
But I have to tell you, that's not listed on your LinkedIn. Your LinkedIn has 3 titles: Distinguished Software Engineer, CTO, and CEO. So I don't know.
I think I should fix that. I think your experience do shape you, right? I think the big thing you have to learn from an experience like that in building a company like this is which part of that experience to bring to a new context versus not. Now, Twitter was, when I joined it, a rocket ship on the consumer side. We could not roll in servers fast enough into data centers to keep the site up. Now, that is a very different context to work in than a pre-product market fit company when I started Parallel 2 years ago. And at Twitter, through the pandemic, Twitter was a remote-friendly environment. Parallel started religiously in person, 5 days a week with the small team, because you need extreme velocity, agility, and it's really fundamental the first year or two in figuring out what the customer wants, what the technology is, and you need to switch directions every other week. And so instead of saying we'll take how we used to do things in a place and bringing it to a new place, you look from first principles. In fact, if you think about how we think at Parallel, it's informed by, at Twitter, when I built products, I would imagine a human on a phone opening up the Twitter app and what their experience was and try to explain every piece of technology we built to serve that moment and that customer, right? Now, we're like, okay, as a result of that, we learned these patterns of building distributed systems or how we build things. Turns out, if you think first principles and said, okay, the human is no longer the customer. It's actually an AI agent that's our customer. How would we build that technology differently, and where will the biggest differences lie? And let's go innovate there. So you don't apply what you did there. You, in fact, question that what might be inbuilt assumptions in your mind as a result of having done that for 30 years now.
So in some ways, you're building basically something that is somewhat opposite to what you built at Twitter, which is at Twitter, you were building for people. In this world, you're building for everyone but people.
Exactly. And I think that's the whole premise of the company, that the customer for the internet, for the open web, is changing. It's been built for humans as customers, and now it's going to be AIs. So what do you do differently?
Can I ask you, which do you find more fulfilling? Because on a human level, building something for people and then building something for machines, look, My opinion, I would prefer to build for people, right? And I know you can make the argument that it's people at the end of the day who are using the agents, and it's built to benefit them. But I mean, did you like building for people at all a little more than building for machines?
I love building for people. And when you build for machines, you are building for people. I take for granted that AI serve humans. I don't question that. I believe that to be true. So you are ultimately building for people. I do find it more exciting in this moment to be building for machines. Because I believe the scale of how machines will use information, be able to aggregate information from different places, put connections together, find patterns, and drive insights, innovation, knowledge creation is going to accelerate. So by building for people, the amount of impact you get to have, the amount of value you get to create for people is higher. And that's what's exciting about building for machines.
Right. Last question for you before I let you go. With your experience from the social media world, I think you're the perfect person to ask this question to, which is that in the era of AI, now we have the advent of AI-generated content. This is video, this is text, this is images. And look, every dinner that I go to, the topic is that we are going to live in a world where we are going to see more of this content. It's going to flood our social media feeds in a way that we can't even imagine. And there are some concerns with that, obviously, right? It's the question of, well, how do you know what's real? How do you know what's right? How do you know what's verified? Does that concern you at all? The way that the content creation ecosystem could go in this future that people are painting?
There are going to be challenges, certainly, as content creation is easier. I do believe these are all surmountable challenges. I think we went from everyone being able to publish on the web through blogs, and by creating their own websites, there was some friction to there. Social media enabled everyone to publish with no friction. It created challenges that we had to grapple with, and we continue to grapple with. And there is a huge continuum from only publishers who had access to publishing companies being able to publish and distribute content way back when, to now everyone can publish on social media, and now the friction is even lower. Content that looks and appears high quality and requires a little bit more to figure out what is actually high quality, right? So but we also have the tools to now solve for those challenges, and there are always going to be. It's always a battle to adapt, right? I think you're going to see a bunch of AI slop around, and it'll be really worth the smartest people's mind to figure out how to have the highest quality content, the best content that people actually want and care about, shine.
And double click on those tools that you talked about. What in your mind is working? What is the solution that we should be developing to combat this challenge?
I think some of these solutions end up being technology, and some of these solutions end up being societal, and the best ones end up combining the two. So we'll establish cultural norms, we will establish tools and technologies we use. People will establish ranking systems and how they incentivize content. People will establish reputation and brands. And you might go out there and you might say that we only create content this way, and if people trust that, you will win. On the other hand, someone else will go out there and take a different strategy. And if they're able to produce extremely high quality content using AIs and gain the trust of people on the other side and get distribution, they will win. And so I do believe that, I'm a big believer in free markets. I'm a big believer in us being able to solve these problems together. It will not be a linear path. But I think even our technology, we build search rankers, systems to try to figure out what's the highest quality content. We run into this challenge every day. We don't solve it perfectly. But there are many things we can do in order to help our customers get the highest quality, original, reliable, accurate information from the web, which is relevant to the question at hand.
Right. So algorithms to combat algorithms, in short. Well, thank you, Parag, for coming on. It's a great conversation, and I really appreciate you joining us. And I know you're early in your product development, and so as you release more and more products, please do come back on the show and tell us more about what you're building. We appreciate you coming on.